With the help of Hashem, we are learning Brachas Daf Mem Aleph. Before we give the intro to the Daf, just to add a few words regarding the Bracha of Shahakoil. That it's good to point out, Gabriel mentioned that the Nekudas correspond to different spheres, which is correct. And even though there are various opinions as to what a Kometz represents, what a Segel represents, we do have that a Kometz represents Keser, and Segel represents Chesed. And this is all coming back to the fact that the rebbe in Hayom Yom, whenever there are different things written, they have to be connected one to the other. And the second statement written in the Hayom Yom of Yud Beis Sivan is speaking about the greatness of accepting criticism, that it puts the person al goiva ha'amiti. So this is the suggestion. Shahakol nihiya b'dvarai, the reason why we use a kometz, even though al pi digduk, itake means past, and we believe in the creation in the present, is because we want to emphasize from where creation comes from, being that creation, as Chassidus emphasizes, is nesava HaKadosh Baruch Hu. God has a desire to have a home in the lowly world, in this lowest of worlds. This comes from the level of Keser. So creation comes from the highest level. And actually, another interesting detail, that if Kometz represents Kesed, the question is, the word Kometz means to close your hand. Kometz means Gevura, or closing one's mouth, to say, oh, you have to close your mouth. But really, one is connected to the other. That's the Tanya of those days of Yud Beis Sivan. That being that God has a desire to have a home in the lowly world, there has to be a lowly world, there has to be a Tachtoinim. And in creation, what was the first midah that expressed itself? Tzimtzum. Hashem needed to do an act, so to say, of Gevura, of being mitzamtzim, Kaviyachal himself, at least in our perspective. Tzimtzum is lafke pshutai, but there is a tzimtzum from our perspective in order for there to be a world. So the world comes about both because God has a desire, He has tainug from a yid learning Torah and keeping mitzvahs. It comes about through an act of kometz, of kamitz, of tzimtzum. That's why we perhaps use the comments, and that's the pshat, that if a person accepts criticism, also gevura, that puts the person on the greatest height. Greatest height is kesed. All right, if people have other ideas, please share it with us. Let's come back over here to brachas. We're going to close up the sugya of Pasha teaching the word in the Mishnah of noivalois. That there was a shita in the Mishnah that holds that if something is min klala, the shita said Rebbe Yehuda, you don't make a bracha at all. And why is noivalis a min klala? The klal noivalis either can mean sun-scorched dates. This is a date that was changed for the worse, or we had the other, the Tuamirayim, that holds that tamra de zika, that noivalis means dates that they were blown off the tree before they became ripe. Now they didn't change to the worst. That was the challenge that we had. Then we'll just close up the sugya. We're going to be moving on Daf Mem Aleph to the machlokes we had in the Mishnah on Daf Mem Amid Beis. Hoya lefan of minim harbe. Question is, which Rabbi Yehuda says min shiva comes first. The Chachamim say the one that you want comes first. So we're going to have to limit or qualify which case is the case of the machlokes in the Mishnah, as we'll further explain when we learn it inside. In other words, is the Mishnah speaking about a scenario where you have in front of you many items that share the same bracha? And it is there that Rabbi Yehuda says, which one of those do you make? The all ha'etz. The one, if you have one that is mimin shiva, that one comes first. What were to happen if you have in front of you items that belong to different bracha groups? Is the Mishnah also referring to that or not? If it's referring to different bracha groups, since you have to make a bracha on each group anyways, therefore you can choose whichever one you want. We're going to be quoting the pasuk in Ekev that enumerates all of the Shiva Saminim. We're going to see that there are those who use this pasuk to teach us the source for many of the shiurim min haTorah. Mamash, every item mentioned in that pasuk is linked to one unique din of shiurim, as we'll speak out. What's going to happen? We're going to move on Daf Mem Aleph from Beis. If you have fruits brought to you during a meal, but they are not eaten for nourishment, nor are they eaten to help you eat the bread. They're eaten, in the words of Rashi, Pashit, you want to put something sweet in your mouth. This is certainly true regarding desserts. This also can happen even if fruit is served as an appetizer. There's a big machlokes and poskim about that, or even during the meal. Question would be, what bracha do you make before? Do you need to make a bracha afterwards, or is it included in birchas hamazon? And on daf mem aleph amid beis, we're going to introduce the sugya of pas haba kisnin bread. We're going to speak out on daf mem beis the three main shita that we have in the Rishonim, what kisnin bread means. We paskin like all of those opinions, but it's some sort of biscuit, some sort of pie, or some sort of sweet dough. And here the question will be whether the bracha will be mezainis, whether the bracha is going to be hamaitzi, and also, same question, whether the after bracha, the birchas hamazon, if it was eaten before birchas hamazon, will it cover the pas haba b'kisnin, or do you have to make a bracha before and a bracha after? This last sugya will be both on daf mem aleph, and we're going to take it up also on daf mem beis. Okay, we left off, like we mentioned, just in the middle of the flow. It's not the end of the world, so we have to remember, we have to quickly review. The Mishnah spoke about neivalis. The Mishnah spoke shitas Rabbi Yehuda regarding three items, including neivalis, that you don't make a bracha at all because it's min klala. The Gemara quoted two Amoraim, Rabbizajac and Elyahu, arguing what does neivalis refer to. So we left off in the place, in the link in the chain, that in our Mishnah, to call neivalis min klala, it certainly is referring to dates that were scorched by the sun. Where do these two Amoraim argue whether it is bushlei kamla or tamra de zeika? That's regarding a Mishnah that we have in the Mai. Okay, and now when it comes to the Mishnah in the Mai, and you have these two options, so we left off on the last two words on daf mem amid beis. Ikada amri, others are of the opinion that when we apply their machlokes to the Mishnah in the Mai, the following was asked, daf mem aleph, bishloim elamanda amar, that in the Mishnah in the Mai, when the Mishnah uses the words noivalois timara, that refers to tamrei de zeika, that as the Mishnah mentions, since they are of little value, there we are not choishish that a Ama Aretz did not properly tithe them, and there we could assume, and we do assume, buying it from them, that they were fully tithed. If that refers to Tamra de Zika, now there is a consistency in the Mishnah throughout the Mishnayos. Haina de Hachi, here in Brachas, the Mishnah speaks about Neivalis Tama, because like we mentioned, in our Mishnah, Neivalis refers to sun-scorched dates. The Mishnah in the Mai is speaking about wind blast dates, two different items. That's why the Mishnah uses different words, different names. But v'hasam karalei tomorrow, elaman amar bushlei de kamera. But according to the Amoraim, if those Amoraim were referring to the Mishnah in the Mai, and he interprets the Mishnah in the Mai also referring to bushlei kamara, to bushlei kamara, to sun-scorched dates. So then the question will be, the question is on Rabbeinu HaKadosh. Either nitna ida v'ida neivalis tamara, or ida v'ida neivalis tama. Why are you using different words for the same item? And for that the Gemara says, kasha. Kasha doesn't mean it's refuted, but that's taka kasha. The answer, what would be the answer? The answer would be, that could be in different mesechtas, speaking about different dinim, or there we want to emphasize that it has less value. You don't have to always use the same word, especially in different mesechtas, in reference to different dinim. Perhaps it's part of the reason, v'chulei. But anyway, hastakash. Okay, now we are up to 5 lines on top of the Amid, daf mem aleph, by the 2 dots. The Gemara is referring back to the Mishnah. Chavre, these sugyas are so geschmack because they're so relevant. Hoyel ufan of minim harbe. That so says the Mishnah. You have many items in front of you. So in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim. The Rabbi Yehuda says that if yesh b'neim min shiva alav hu mevarech, and the Chachamim say that chavivus, which means what you want, trumps, and on that you make the bracha. Okay. Amar Ula. Says Ula, the machlokes in our Mishnah is only b'shebir chayseim shavais. When the items, let's say, of fruit, are all fruit, which means they all demand a boirei pri ha'etz. The example the Gemara gives is you have in front of you an olive and an apple. There, what's the machlokes? Rabbi Yehuda savar that min shiva adif. One of the shiva saminim is right? Eretz, Zeis, Shemen, referring to the Aleph. So you make a bracha ha'etz on the Aleph, and that is moitzi, the apple. And you don't need to make a bracha on the apple, which is the din. So you're only going to make a bracha on one of the two. Which one do you make it over? The one that's Shivas Aminim. And the Rabbanan hold, no, min chaviv adif. If you want the apple, so for you apple is more important. That trumps the ones that are from Shivas Aminim. Aval says Ula, both Tanoim agreed that if b'she'ein birchosem shavos, if you have items from different bracha groups, the example that we are using here, Rashi gives, you have a radish and an olive, right? The Gemara uses, a radish and an olive. A radish is ha'adama. The olive is ha'etz. And Divrei HaKoil says Ula, mevarech al zeh, v'choyzeh mevarech al zeh. The way Rashi teaches the Gemara, even though Rashi points out that we learned in the prior Mishnah that if a person erroneously made a adama on the fruit, he's yoitza, that's after the fact. But lechatchila, I should make ha'etz on fruits and hadamas on vegetables. And if I have in front of me two categories, fruits and vegetables, I can't make a bracha on ha'adama for both. I lechatchila have to make a bracha both for the eitz category and for the adama category. So since anyways you have to make a bracha both ha'etz and ha'adama, you have in front of you a radish and an olive. That's what Ula is saying according to Rashi. Since you have to make both bracha types anyways, it makes no difference which one you make first. There's no seder. There's no seder because anyways one won't be moitzi the other. Pick whichever one you want, and everyone will agree to that. Even though the olive is mentioned in Shivas Haminim, the radish is not. Doesn't matter. It's not shaykh to Shiva. It's not a fruit anyways. You got to make a hadoma anyways. Who cares which type you make first? Okay.
And the ha'etz is more specific also than hadoma. So normally, you always.
This we're not mentioning over here. No, this one, just as Vidani is saying that there's another rule that the bracha that's more specific many times is more important than the bracha that's more general. We are not applying this logic here, according to Rashi. It's very important, again, just to reiterate, I know these are mamash gishmak sugis because it's halacha lamaisa. We don't paskin from learning Gemara, especially we only learn Gemara Rashi. Many Rishonim argue the whole pshat with Rashi, and it's a whole different Gemara. Let's go back. Meisvei frekti Gemara says in a braisa hoil fun of clear tznoin v'zayis. If you have in front of you a radish and an olive, so the braisa says you don't make both brachas. You don't make both brachas because there's another rule. What's the other rule? When you are having a food that is a composite of different types, once we establish which one is the ikir and which one is the tafel, you only make a bracha on the ikir, and the tafel is automatically included in that bracha. And why is that? Because the reason why people eat, or at least they ate then, olives with radishes, they want to eat a radish. Elamah, the radish is bitter. So to take away the bitterness of the radish, they added the sweet olive. Go figure that. Okay, today you would add sugar. They didn't have sugar. Thank God, that's why they didn't have poison. We live much longer. That's a miracle. Right. And where it says, no. That B'rais is speaking about a case, shatzunayin ikr. But if the tzunayin would not be the ikr, then you would make two different bracha types. Gemara, and that doesn't work because Ema Seifam, it says in that Baraisa, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Mevarech al Azayish, Azayis Memin Shiva. That doesn't make sense. If that Baraisa is speaking about a case where it's like a mixture, it's like a kompot, it's a salad, radish and olive, and the olive is only there to sweeten the radish, why would Rabbi Yehuda say, right? And furthermore, you see, it goes against Tola also. First of all, it goes against this whole concept. You do make a bracha on the zayis mimin shiva. So leis leil Rabbi Yehuda had the Tanan. Does Rabbi Yehuda disagree with that which it says kol shu ikir v'im tefilla mavarach al ikir v'bayis tefilla? That would be the only way you can explain it, because if Rabbi Yehuda would subscribe to it, then you wouldn't make a bracha on the olive at all. And v'chitei mahachinami, the leis lei, that can be. V'hatanya, we learned in another braisa Rabbi Yehuda Omer, or in that same braisa, if you're only eating the olive because of the bitterness of the radish, then even Rabbi Yehuda is moide that you make a bracha only on the radish, and that includes the zayis, which means that the reisha of that braisa is not speaking about a case one is ikar and one is tafel, and nevertheless you see that there is also a machlokes, which one comes first. You're making a bracha both on ha'etz and ha'adama. That's what it comes out to. So the Gemara says you have to, according to Ula, the entire braisa has to be amended. Lo'olam, the braisa is speaking about a case with tznoy nikir askinan. Now let's reread the entire braisa. If you have in front of you a radish and an olive, says the braisa, and that's no argument, mamish like Ula. You will only make a bracha on, well, it's not connected to Ula. You only make a bracha on the radish and you don't make a bracha on the zayis. But med dvaram amurim kishat tznoy niker avalein tznoy niker divrei hakoil. If you're having radishes and olives, this is Ula. Everyone will agree. Mevarech al zeh v'choyzir mevarech al zeh. That means two dinim. Din number one, that the bracha of ha'adama does not include in it the ha'etz. I again in the Mishnah, if you said it b'di'evet as a mistake, that includes. Here you know what you're doing. Number two, since anyways you have to make both hadama and ha'etz, according to this braisa, one doesn't come before the other. We don't paskin this way, but that's what we're learning here in the braisa. You can either make the ha'etz first, or you can make the hadama first. However, now add, if you have ushnei minim ba'alma, but if you have two different types, like we mentioned before, you have an olive and an apple. If you have two different types that are of the same group, here the Tanach says which one comes before the other. There's one rule. It's called chaviv. Chaviv means which one do you prefer to have first? Bevarech al mehem sheyirtza. Not hefker welt. Means since you want it, since you want to have the apple first, so for you apple is chaviv. So you make an apple a bracha. You only make a bracha eitz once, but you make it on the apple. And on that, Rabbi Yehuda says, like we have in the Mishnah, if it's birchaisem shavos, then mevarech al azayis shazayis mimin shiva. Even though you want to have the apple, but the apple is not in the shiva saminim. The zayis is make a bracha on the zayis, and then go and eat your apple. Okay, atkan shitas ula. Says the Gemara, there is a machlokes regarding the sugya in between Rav Ami and Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka, whether we subscribe to the din of Ula or not. Chad Amar, one of these two Amoraim say, right, machlokes, mamish like Ula, that the machlokes in our Mishnah is only when she b'she birchoseim shavos, apple and olive. The Rabbi Yehuda holds, since min shiva adif, even though you want the apple, so what? Make the bracha on the olive. The Rabbanan hold, no, min chaviv adif. That's the eze sheyirtze. Yirtze and chaviv, eze sheyirtze is not eeny, meeny, miny, mo, not eze sheyirtze. Think about which one you want. What you want becomes chaviv. Aval b'she'em b'chasem shavos, divrei hakoil. Like we mentioned, since you have to make sai ha'etz for the ha'etz categories and ha'adama for the adama categories, we don't say that like Danny said, which is the way we say in halacha. First make ha'etz, because it's more specific. Hadama is more, no, these Tanaim hold, these Amoraim hold. Doesn't matter. And since it doesn't matter, pick anyone you want. And the chiddush is again, even if you have an olive and a radish, you're going to argue an olive is in shiva saminim, a radish is not. So make it no. Rabbi Yehuda only says that min shiva adiv if you will only be making one bracha. So on what should you make it? Not on the apple, yes on the olive. Anyways, you're going to be making both on the radish and on the olive. I don't mind, I don't care. Everyone agrees, mamish like Ula. However, Chadamer, another one of these two Amoraim hold, not like Ula. They argue. Now we have to clarify what does it mean that they argue, because if they would only finish with the words machlokes, one might have erroneously understood that, you know what Rabbi Yehuda is saying, since min shiva adif, only make a bracha on the min shiva, and that would be moitzi everything else. But that's zikr not. No one says that. Or do we have to just clarify what will be the machlokes? Not whether you make a bracha only on one that will be good for everything. Everyone holds. Rabbi Yehuda holds you got to make ha'etz for the ha'etz and hadama for hadama. He only holds din kedima, which one should come first. And here Rabbi Yehuda would hold that if you have in front of you an olive, you got to make a ha'etz, not because it's ha'etz, because it's an olive, and then make hadama. The Gemara just clarifies it. No, so we understand the machlokes. The question is whether min shiva adif or whether chaviv is adif. They also argue. So just to clarify, what is the argument? Don't learn wrong pshat that they are arguing that Rabbi Yehuda will hold you only make ha'etz on the aleph and your yotzeh for the radish. That no. The machlokes will be lahagdim. Lahagdim means you're doing two things. Question is, which one comes first? To Amar Rabbi Yosef, v'itema Rabbi Yitzchak, kol hamugdam b'pasik zeh mugdam lebracha. You know what's beautiful? What does mugdam mean? Mugdam doesn't only mean that if I have two fruit items and I will only be making one ha'etz, then pick the one of Shivas Aminim. Mugdam also means, and it primarily means, even when you're making two brachas, which one comes first is established, which one is mentioned first in the pasuk. Now, in the Shivas Aminim, we do have two categories. What are the two categories? Hadam and ha'etz. Why do we have Hadam and ha'etz? We're learning the sugya. When do we make mezoynes or hamoitzi? Only if you take the grains and you make it into a flour, right? We learned about porridge. We learned before already, if you only pound the kernels split them into two, split them into three, the way they would make the porridge, what we would call oatmeal. Oatmeal is not a good word because oatmeal means oats. Porridge is from any one of the Shivas Aminim, right? I'm sorry, when you make that, you make mezoynes. When it's gooey together, you make mezoynes. But if you eat the kernel itself, what do you make? Ha'adama. So that's the pshat. So here you have in the pasuk ha'adama and ha'etz, and he's using the words which one comes first, the one that's mentioned first in the pasuk. Now we're gonna speak it out. Shenemar, let's read the pasuk. Eretz, chita, usoira, gefen, right, vines, te'enos, figs, rimoin, pomegranates. So now we have five, right? Chita, soira, gefen, te'ena, and rimoin. And then we have the final two. Eretz, zeis, shemen, which also, it's not only shemen, it's zeis, it's olives from where you get the shemen. And the vash, even though the taich of the vash is honik, right? But it means date, honey, and it is referring to the dates. So, and what is he saying? If I have in front of me, let's say a chita, and a shemen, so which one do I make first? And an olive, I make ha'adama first. We'll see, not so simple. One thing is clear: if I have in front of me a wheat and a date, I for sure make the hadama first. I'll explain what I mean by the first question, lav dafka. Okay. Bi or plige. Now this Rabbi Yosef or Rabbi Yitzchak, they are in argument with the Rab Chanan. Why is that? Amar Rab Chanan, don't learn the pshat in the pasuk that the pasuk is teaching us din kedima, but kol ha-pasuk kuloi, the entire pasuk is coming to teach us li-shiurim nemar, is teaching us dinei shiurim. And as we'll go through a beautiful list, which is a great review, that been again many laws in the Torah, different laws. There is a certain minimum share for that law to go into effect. Sometimes if you do less than the share, b'chlal, there's no violation. Even if we're going to hold in many cases that chatzi shir is asr min ha-Torah, but punishment only begins if you did whatever the violation is as of a certain amount. Sometimes it's not about punishments, it's tumah v'tara. There are many dinim that are connected to an amount. And the Torah enumerates these 7. Each one has a unique din connected to shiurim. And if that would be the case, if that's the kavanah of the pasuk, then you cannot learn dinei kedima from the pasuk because it's not coming to teach you dinei kedima. It's coming to teach you dinei shiurim. Now let's go through all of the 7. Chita. What shiur in the throughout the whole shas is connected to a chita? The Tanan. And we're going to a Mishnah in Negoyim. Hanichnas labeis hamenuga. So if a house itself was declared to be a confirmed Beis Hamanuga, the house is similar to Tumas oil, unique, that everything in the house is tamei, even though nothing is touching the walls. Not only that, the Torah says explicitly that if a person walks into the house, the person becomes tamei. But then there's another pasuk that speaks about a person walking into the house and the clothing that they wear also become tamei. And Chazal tell us, and in one verse we don't speak about the garments that you wear, that there is a gevaldik nafkamina whether you walked in and you left immediately, or if you walked into the house and you lingered for a certain amount of time. If you walk in and walk out, you are tamei, but the garments that you are wearing is not tamei. Only if you linger in a Beis Hamanuga will that tuma also go onto the clothing that you're wearing. Question is, how long of time must you linger? That's connected to the chita. So let's go. Says the Mishnah. Now the Mishnah goes into another interesting nuance. When we're saying that if a person enters a home that is a tzoras home, and they don't linger there, they go in and they go out, the garments that they are wearing is not tamei. That's only if they are wearing the garments. If I walk into a Beis Hamanuga and I'm holding on to garments, then those garments become tamei like me immediately. When do you have to have the lingering? If you're wearing them. That's how the Mishnah begins. If you walk into a house that was already confirmed to be a house of tzoras, and you have kelev refers to garments, but you're not wearing them. They are al kseifav, they are on your shoulders. And by the way, b'derech agav, bachrim, remember many of us used to wear the jackets, you don't put your hands in the sleeves, you put them on your shoulders. That might be called wearing. That's the whole question of Negeh Shabbos. Is it carrying? Is it not carrying? No one should do that, but I'm saying theoretically you can argue that if this is the derech of wearing that garment, then you're not carrying it, then you're wearing it. Al kseifav means you're wearing it in a way that no one wears it. It's over your shoulders. Or v'sandalov, v'tabo'isov. The sandalim are not on your feet, the rings are not in your fingers, they're all being held in your hand. Here the Mishnah says, no lingering is needed. Who, not only you, but even v'hein tamei miyad. When do we say that only after you stayed in the house for a while, only then are the garments tamei? That's garments that you are wearing. If you're wearing your garments and your sandalim are not in your hands, they're where they belong, on your feet, and v'taba oisav are in your fingers, that's the din. Hu tamei miyad, he becomes tamei immediately, and they remain tahar if you did not linger. Now, what's the lingering? That's why Hashem writes in Ekev Chita. Here is the shiur at sheyisha b'chdei achilas pras. Lingering means if you stay there the amount of time that you need to eat a half of piece of bread. Pras means a half, a piece means a half. Now let's get into details. See, we already know the end game. It's a machlokes, 3 minutes, 12 minutes, 3 minutes, 9 minutes. Let's go. Bread that's made out of barley is a bread that it takes more time to eat. So the din of achilas pras, this is where we have in the Mishnah, paschitin. It's a lesser shiur. That's the chita. And other details, and not pasoirim. Another detail, when a person sits down, in those days, not only did they sit down, but they would lean. When you get into the eating of a meal mode, you eat better and quicker. Mesav, when you're leaning, when you eat non-leaning, it takes more time to eat. That's how the Rishonim teach the Mishnah. Even though that many of us can argue in our experience, when you're eating American style, you're walking around, you're nashing, you don't even chew properly. But mesav means quick. When you are eating with lifton, when you eat bread with a relish, you eat the bread quicker. When you eat the bread with nothing, it's harder to chew and to swallow the bread. All of this is dinim just to minimize, to make the shiur of achilas paras shorter, which is a chumrah, because if you lingered in that shorter amount of time, your kalim become tummy. Anyway, so the din of chita is to teach us that every time you're going to learn in throughout Shas, bechdei achilas paras, it's referring to a chita pas and not a so'ira pas. The din of a so'ira, what shiur is connected to so'ira, says the gemara detran, etzem ki so'ira. A bone of a corpse. So a bone is metame even if it's only in the size of a barley. Now when it comes, let's say, to tumas oil, that's not enough. For tumas oil, so many different dinim. a roiv hakav of bones, roiv binyan, remember that? Or the skull, or the spinal cord. The etzem kisoida is not metama be'oil, but it's metama not only if you touch it, but even if you moved it, you can move something without touching it directly. You become tummy. Metama b'agam masa, but then metama b'oil. What din do we learn from Geffen? Says the Gemara, Kedei revius yain l'nazir. A nazir who may not cut his or her hair, a nazir that may not consume wine, nor eat grapes or grape product. Now there is a klal, whenever there is an isur of achila, what shiur does it refer to? Kizayis. Here we have an exception. That the shiur of eating grapes or grape products by the nazir is not kizayis. It's a much larger shiur. It's the shiur of a revius. Hold on, how do you get to a revius? How do you measure a revius, which is a liquid measure when it comes to solids? So here's the secret. You take a cup, you fill it with liquid. You put in it product. When the product, the solids, displace enough liquid that amounts to a revius, that's how you measure when it comes to a solid a revius. Rabbeinu Gershon, the Mo'er HaGoyel, that's the one who made the Cherem, the Rabbeinu Gershon. The whole Cherem, the Rabbeinu Gershon, came about that he was married to 2 wives. I mean, he made 3 Charamim, and then he built for the king there, in Austria or somewhere in Europe, a throne, mamish, copied by Shlomo HaMelech's throne. That was the whole Maisa. And then they suspected him of stealing the silver, but in order to prove that he stole the silver, you have to weigh the throne. And so the king told him to weigh the throne. There was no weight that can weigh his throne. It's a gavaldik amais. But the king knew that he would figure out how to weigh the throne without taking, and he told the king, if I'll take it apart to weigh it, I don't know, it was so hard to make it, I don't know if I'll make it again. So the second wife got out of him the information, she was working for the king, that you don't have to take the throne apart. That was the word, that you put it, you put a ship is in the water. You put the throne on the ship. When the throne is in the ship, you mark on the sides of the outside of the walls of the ship where the water is at. Because the throne puts the ship deeper in the water. Then they took the throne out. Then they put many pebbles or rocks. And once it hit the same line, same displacement, then they weighed each rock separately. This is the sug. In other words, if you want to figure out how to come to a certain liquid measure by a solid, it's about displacing the liquid. So you verstehst. Now there's another detail, like Rashi explains. If I want to come to a revius of solids, so I'm putting a revius of pits and of peels, of whatever, any product from a grape in a cup. If there's a cup of water, water is more liquidy, less gooey, so water gets displaced quicker. Revius yayin means that this way of coming to how do you measure the solid into a revius, it's not about it displacing water by the nazir, it's about it displacing wine, which is a leniency, because since wine is stickier, you need more solids to kick it out of the cup, because the wine wants to stay in the keli. You can't kick out the wine so quick. Wine represents something deeper, right? The yena shel Torah. The deeper you come into a Jew, you can b'chlal get rid of it. But the deeper, the harder, the more that it hears. So revius yain. Te'ena, what then do we learn from Te'ena? Kigroi geres, loitzoi Shabbos. That's next Masech already. When it comes to carrying, so for a person to be chayiv chatos, if they carried b'shoigeg, they have to carry the minimum amount of a dried fig. If they carried less than that, then they're not even chayiv chatos. The din of Rimoin, what is Rimoin? What shiur? Kidetnan, kol clay balabatim, if a balabayas has a utensil and it became tamei, especially if the keli is made out of cheres and you cannot be metayered by taking it to the mikvah, or even if it's made out of a material that mikvah is an option, but there is another way that the tumah goes out. What would be the other way? If the keli becomes invalidated, if the keli becomes broken. Okay, let's go into that. How much of a breakage do you need in the keli for us to say, the keli is ois keli? So if you have kalim by a storekeeper, if you have a store and you're selling kalim, even a smaller hole in a keli will invalidate the keli, because no one will want to buy it. But when it comes to clay balabatim, in my home, even if the keli was designated to use it for one item, and it became invalidated because that item would fall out of the hole, I'm not going to throw it away. I'm going to use it for a larger item. When does it become completely invalidated? If the hole is so large that a rimoin can go out. Shiurim kirimoinim. Like Rashi explains, dafke balabatim, because of the rule that a balabayis has to be chas on his kalim. Right? Tzadikim, a balabas has to have mercy on his utensils. Tzadikim, the Chazal say that they'll give up their lives to save their kalim. And when people learn it, they have a very negative reaction because they don't understand what they're learning. We understand, al pi chassidus, that just like every person has a unique mission, right? Alter Rebbe also explains it in the Geras HaKodesh. Every Yid has his or her chelik in the world that they have to elevate. Every Yid has their chelik in the Torah that they have to clarify. Maybe ours is the shahakal business. And if God, the hashgacha pratis, you are the owner of that keli, even if it has very little value, you are the only Yid that can elevate the spark that's in it. And you don't have the right to throw it out. That's why Yaakov Avinu went back to get his pachim ketanim. We have to be chas. So if I have a keli that is broken, if I can make another use for it, I don't have the right to say, throw it out. That keli was waiting from the beginning of creation for my neshama to use it for a mitzvah. But when is it ruined? When it's kemoy tzirimoin. The next one, Eretz Zei Shemen. That's the classical Amar Rabbi Yosi Berab Chanina. Eretz Shekol Shiureh Kezeisim. Kol, kol is an extreme. Kol Shiureh Salkadaitach. V'hoika Hanach the Amaran. We just went through other shiurim, so the Gemara clarifies Ela Eretz Sheroiv Shiureh Kezeisim. And the Vash. What's the shiur of a Vash? Guys, Yom Kippur. There the Torah speaks about Inoi. Inoi means we have to afflict ourselves. Even if a person eats a kezayis, when you are fasting, you're still afflicted. When does the affliction go away? What's the shiur of Yom Kippur? Kikoi seves hagasa, like a large date. Yom Kippur. So bekitzer, all of this, what are we bringing out from all this? That if this pasuk is coming to teach us shiurim, then we can't use this pasuk for dinei kedima. But ve'idach, hanei shiurim behedya miksivi, the others that do use this pasuk for dinei kedima, they say, even according to you, when Hashem wrote a land that has chita, did Hashem speak about the din of achilas pras? Is that written in the pasuk? Ella, we're going to read the emendation on the side. Hilchas eninu, that's the way we learn. That shiurim halacha l'moshe misinai. Right, and even though it's good to chazer, right, Yaakov, that Rambam writes in Hagdama to Periscope Mishnah is that halacha l'moshe misinai means something that's not even alluded to beremez in a pasuk. Nevertheless, we find, like here and in many other places, that something that is still called a halacha l'moshe misinai, the Gemara gives us an asmachta from a pasuk. That means an asmachta is even less than a remez. That it doesn't take away the status of halacha l'moshe misinai. The Chachamim told us, you want to remember shiurim, learn this pasuk, and each item is connected to one of the shiurim. Ella hilchas eninu v'kras machta ba'alma. Okay, now let's move on to this opening of a new sugya. The new sugya is you washed, you're having a meal, something is brought for you during the meal. But for some reason, it's halachically not connected to the meal. So here are the three options. Either no bracha before nor after is made, because since you are having a meal, it's included in the hamoitzi, and it's going to be included in the birchas hamazon. Option number two is, even if it will be included in birchas hamazon, but you will have to make a bracha prior. Option number three is you have to make a bracha prior and a bracha after. So let's learn a whole array of opinions. Rav Chiz and Rav Hamnuna, they were having a meal, and kamayu, it was brought in front of them, tamrei v'remoini, dates and pomegranates. So first of all, the very fact that they made a bracha, that already is going to open up the new sugya. But what's the link between that sugya and the sugya that we're learning about right now about the din kedima? Because now comes another question. If you hold that you have to make a bracha because you're having fruit during a meal, as we'll speak out in this amid, why? Now the question is, which one comes first? Now let me ask you, which one comes first? If we're going to use this verse as teaching us din kedima doesn't only mean hadama and ha'etz. It means whichever one is mentioned first in the pasuk should come first. So which one is mentioned in the pasuk first? The dates or the pomegranates? Guys, dates is mentioned last because devash means devash tamarim in this pasuk. It doesn't mean honey. It means dates. So l'chayra, according to what we learned, you should make the bracha on the rimain. So comes along. So these two are sitting. Shakal Rav Hamnuna and Berachot Tamrei Bereisha. And he makes a bracha on the dates first. Rav Hamnuna, Alma Discassia, Nuna Yama, the greatest. Amalei Rab Chizda, I don't understand. Sfira leimar lohada Amar Rab Yosef or v'iteimer Rab Yitzchak said that kol hamokim hapasuk zeh koydem lebracha. Dates are the last. Amalei, I do subscribe to it, but you have to know how to learn a pasuk. So listen to this. The pasuk begins with the words eretz. So eretz, chito, so'oida, v'gefen, v'te'ena, v'rimain. Rimain is mentioned, what number from the word eretz? The fifth. Eretz, chito, u'so'oida, gefen, te'ena, and rimain. Then the Torah says again eretz. Eretz, zeis, shemen, u'devash. So the devash is written after eretz. What number? Number 2. Number 2 is before number 5. Zeh, sheini, la'eretz. V'zeh chamishi la'eretz. Gavaldik. Amar lei, says Rab Chizda to Rav Hamnuna, man yov. Man yov in Lashon HaKodesh means mi yitein. Mi yitein in the Yiddish meant halavai. That nigrei, that man yov lon, nigrei de parzelo. Halavai, God will give me iron feet. In order for me to become your meshamash, for me to serve you, that there's so much to learn from you. Halavai, I would have iron feet to do shimush to someone like you. Gavaldik. Okay. The irony is that Rav Hamnuna, like we mentioned, is really connected to Soiviv Kol Almim. Soiviv Kol Almim is above Din Kedima. Above Din Kedima. And it's kind of funny that he ordered it differently, because if you follow the pasuk kipshutai, the last one is dates. But he showed you that what it comes later really comes before, not only because of Soiviv Kol Almim, because Take Eretz is counted. Okay, Itmar. Now we're diving into the sugya, and that's going to continue on Daf Mem Beis. Why did they have to make a bracha? They're having a meal. Oh, so here you see that even though you're having a su'udah defined by hamoitzi, sometimes something that is brought to you during the meal. Again, there's how do you apply appetizers during the meal, dessert, right? Everything is being touched upon right now. Itmer, heviu lifneim te'enim and anavim. And what did they do? Oh, I'm sorry, this is a new sugya, not the story of above, but another story. Here it's figs and grapes. Here we're not speaking about which one comes first. B'soy chasuda, Amar Afhuna tu'unin bracha lifneihem ve'ein tu'unin bracha la'achareim. Why? Now you have to learn, every edition gives another way of wording it. Let's look inside the Rashi. Count 15 line downs. It's very important, every word here. Heviu lifneim, I'm reading Rashi. Te'enim va'anovim b'seicha su'uda. Here is the key. V'loy lelapes, or lelafes esapas. Many foods were eaten then with bread. It was called a condiment to the bread. Right? Today people eat hummus like that, for example. So we learned before that meat used to be eaten that way. Okay, so since these fruits were not eaten as a condiment to the bread, if that would have been the case, the imkain havlu tefilla. Ve'ein choylik bedavar, no one would argue, and everyone would agree, she'ein ton bracha loy lefanav v'loy la'achrav. Hello, why did they bring the fruits that lipa'amim sheba lematek espiv b'toy chassidut b'peiros? You're eating, and people want to have something sweet during the meal. During the meal, b'toy chassidut. Whether this applies to an appetizer, that's the big question. An appetizer, you can argue, is not to bring sweetness to your mouth. An appetizer might be eaten to open up your appetite. That might be different, because opening your appetite is more connected to the meal. Here it's not even to open your appetite. You want to push it, put something sweet in your mouth.
Is this dessert?
Huh?
Is this a dessert?
This for sure will go into dessert. Shkoyach. Here it can be even in the middle of the meal. So these are the two things. It's not a condiment. It's not in any way connected to nourishment. That's the other criterion. It's only to have something sweet. So that's why Rav Huna holds that you need a bracha before, but you don't need a bracha afterwards. You don't need a bracha afterwards. Why don't you need a bracha afterwards? Because since it did give you nourishment, what is Birchas Hazon? Birchas Hazon is your blessing Hashem for the fact that God gives me nourishment. So it includes it. V'chein Omar Rav Nachman, tu'unim bracha lifneim. You need a bracha before. It's not lalapes esapas. Okay? I am not eating it for nourishment. I am eating it for sweet. So a bracha before, yes, but a bracha achrayna, no. The eino tom bracha lifnei, meaning it doesn't need. Of course, everything needs. It's included in the birchas hamaz. However, v'Rab Sheishis Amar tu'unin bracha bein lifneihem ubein la'achareihem. And why does he say that? Because Rab Sheishis says she'ein lecha davar she'to'un bracha lefanav ve'ein to'un bracha la'achrav. Where do we find that a bracha before is made and you don't have its corresponding bracha afterwards? These words is important. Where do you find that? You only have it ela pas haba bekisnin bilvat. Okay, opening up haba bekisnin. And as we mentioned, the next year in Daf Membeis, we're going to speak out the three opinions in the Rishonim that teaches the pas haba bekisnin. Just to know, the literal word kisnin means pocket bread. Let's go with the Rabbeinu Hananel. It's like a pie. Pie means that the dough, the dough part is a normal dough, or today it would be a pita bread. But they would put in the pocket a lot of other stuff. All right? Where do we find that you make a bracha before and the bracha afterwards is not the same, only by pasaba bekisnin? Let's read inside Rashi. Now, this is so important. Pasaba bekisnin la'achar achila. Look inside Rashi, my friends. U birchas hamazayin. That's according to Rashi when people would eat it. Then, in those days, after you benched, they would bring in front of a person kisnin. It's called kisnin bread. What is that? Vehein kiloyos. They would bring toasted grain. But we'll see, in other words, it was filled with toasted grain. Why would they have that? Also, this is important, and it's after Birchas Hamazon according to Rashi. Not for nourishment, because we learned before that it's good for your heart. But they wouldn't just eat toasted grains. Pas. Look inside the Rashi. Im tavlin. Bread that was kneaded. Here the dough itself was kneaded with spices. Ke'ein, and he gives you a French type of bread. Sholanu. They had in there chickens, certain special meats, shahakol, or they had in it certain fruits. And they would have a small amount. Rashi holds, what bracha prior would you make for pasaba bekisnin? Mezoinos. Why would you make mezoinos? Because we have Rav and Shmuel, the 5 grains. But there's an exception. Normally every prior bracha has its corresponding after bracha. An exception. What's the exception? They would make a bite in the nefashos afterwards. Why would they make a bite in the nefashos afterwards? According to Rashi, because umachala muat. Which means, chavre, this is the question. If I eat something that has flour in it, and I made a mezainis, okay, it's not a meal, it's a snack. And it's not bread. If you snack on bread, you always have to make hamoitzi. Question is, do you have to make a bracha until it's yadayim? Do you have to make after bracha? For there you have shiurim. But for the smallest amount of bread, you got to make hamoitzi. But in the case where you make a mezainis, and we'll speak more about this in next year. But mezainis bread, whether it's a bluff, the whole thing, or not. So you make a mezainis. What happens if, when I ate a kazayas. But if you analyze the ingredients, there's so little flour in there the kazayis is not comprised of a kazayis of mezoinus. It's a kazayis of nuts. It's a kazayis of this bird. It's a kazayis of a spice. The ruba is a bayan of fashis. So Rashi holds that's the pasababa kisnin. You know, what Rav Sheshes is saying, where do we find that a bracha after doesn't correspond to the bracha before? By pasababa kisnin. That there, if you would eat a lot of pasababa kisnin, you make a bracha before, you would make a alamichya, me'ein shalish. But if you only have a kazayis, or maybe even you had two kazaysim, but in there you didn't even have a kazayis of flour, Rashi says you make a bayron of fashes. Like pas oiris v'doichen, according to some of the opinions that we learned above, according to some opinions that you make a mezoinus prior, but you make a bayron of fashes. Okay. So coming back to Rav Sheshes, so Rav Sheshes holds that if you have fruits that are brought to you in middle of the meal, then you have to make a bracha before and after, because it's only fair. If you make now for fruits you make a ha'etz. What's the bracha after ha'etz? Well, it depends. If it's from the Shivas Haminim, you make the me'ein zayin. If it's apples, you make a sweet apples, you make a bayron fashes. The Birchas Hamazon doesn't cover it. And where do we have an exception that the bracha after doesn't correspond to the bracha before? Pasa baba kisnan. Tosfot has a few issues with Rashi. 1, 2, 3, the fourth Tosfot. It's towards the top of the Amud. This is so important, these sugyas. Ela pasa baba kisnan. That there, the tom bracha lefanav, the ein tom bracha la'achrav, meaning rak b'ayna nefashos. He's quoting all Rashi and scoot down on Tosfot. And Rashi Nochi quotes, Rashi says that we're speaking about Pasa Baba Kisnin that comes after Birchas Hamazon. Says Tosfos, I disagree with Rashi. First of all, Tosfos holds that if I am eating a food for which I made a mezoinus, why? Not because the majority was flour. Rav and Shmuel says that Kol sheyesh boi mechameshes aminim, right? Unless it's ladabek, unless it's a binder, you got to make a but in a mezoinus. Tosfos holds that if you made a mezoinus, we view everything like a mezoinus. And if you ate a kazayis of it, even though if you want to analyze the ingredients, you did not eat a kazayis of the grains, gavaldi, Tosfos holds you make an alamichya. Okay. And furthermore, Tosfos holds that the pasa baba kisnan that Rav Sheshes is referring to is not after Birchas Hamazon, something that we relate to. It's what we call dessert. Mezoinus dessert. What do we do by mezoinus dessert? We make a vitamin mezoinus, we have to. But do we make a alamichya? No, we don't. Because Birchas Hamazon covers it. And Tosfos holds that if a person were to have Pasa Baba Kistan after Birchas Hamazon, if he ate a kazayis, even Rav Sheshes holds that he would make a al hamichya. Okay. So whether it is Larashi, whether it is Tosfos, the concept we get. Rav Sheshes says that we do find one exception, but only one exception, that the bracha after doesn't correspond to the bracha before. But when it comes to fruits, since, again, you're having it too sweet in your mouth, and therefore you got to make a ha'etz, let's say it's a stama fruit, not from the Shivas Aminim, you got to make a bracha, you got to make a bite in a fashes. So holds Rav Sheshes. And now the Gemara says, upliga de Rav Chia. The Amar Rav Chia pas poiteres kol minei maichol, meaning Rav Chia holds that you don't make a bracha not prior nor after, even though you're not having it lalapes as a pas, even though you're not having it for nourishment, you're having it because you want to put something sweet in your mouth. Since you are having it in between the washing and the benching, Rav Chia holds pas poiteres kol minei machol, and likewise, let's continue with Rav Chia. V'yayin, this is also negei lamaisa. You make kiddush, are you mechuyev then to make a shahakol? Let's say during a kiddush Shabbos day, you're going to wash in your house, but you make a mezoinus. You make kiddush, you make a mezoinus, then you have a cup of water. What's the din? You don't make a shahakol on the water. Why not? Because you made a hagefen on the wine. And that's the rule, that when you make a bracha for wine, that pater is kol minei mashkin. They are included in it. So coming back over here, so what do we do with the fruit? So the Gemara brings the following statement. Amar Rav Papa, Hilchase, Dvorim haboyim machmas asuda. Machmas asuda means because of the bread, lalapes esapas, and you're having it b'toy chassidut, means after you ate hamoitzi, the din is ein tu'unim bracha loy lifneim v'loy lachareim. Next case, if shaloi machmas hasuda, if you're not eating it because of the of lalapes esapas, right? You're not eating it with the meal. For example, Rashi gives an example not for sweets. The first Rashi under the Gemara, you're having porridge. You don't need to have porridge with bread. Or you're having kruv, Rashi says. You're having cabbage or teradin or beets. She'enam lifton. You're not having it with the bread, but you are eating it to get nourishment. That's not like the case of the fruits. So, b'toy chassidut, then tu'unim bracha lifneim. It's not tough. That's what Rav Papa holds. If anything that I don't eat with the bread is already not tough, and therefore it's not included in the hamoitzi. But since you're eating it for nourishment, so the birchas Hassan covers it. Because Hassan is, we're thanking Hashem for nourishing us. So therefore, ve'ein tuna bracha la'achareim. But la'achar hasuda, says Rav Papa, la'achar hasuda means la'achar hasuda before birchas hamazon. Obviously, tu'unim bracha bein lifneim bein la'achareim. Because since you're not even eating it for nourishment, so paskins Rav Papa, like fruit, what we would call today dessert, not with the bread, nor for nourishment, not only is it not included in the hamoitzi, it's not even included in birchas hamazon. So paskins Rav Papa, and a lot more, God willing, on Daf Mem Beis.